Welcome back for week 10 of the College Football Challenge. For those interested in the Beat the Host Challenge, you can find the link on our Facebook and Twitter page. So, Tatum, what do you think about those rankings?
There was a lot of trouble in the rankings, and I think it reared its ugly head this week.
Well, I'll say this real quick. I don't think, and all the haters can go ahead and blow up Twitter. Ohio State is not the best team in the Big Ten.
No.
It showed itself, and they did not give Michigan any love at all. And I just think it's nauseating as a fan. And Michigan is clearly the better team in the Big Ten right now. We'll find out in a couple weeks.
I think it's the same thing with Alabama. I mean,
In the recent decade, since Saban's been there, I agree with that statement.
yeah. I mean, yeah, sure, you get the benefit of the doubt, when you go on a run like that, but these past couple of years have been a little different, even though they are only 1 year removed from a national championship.
Right.
But it just seems like things are trending a different direction in the SEC. Georgia has definitely got a stranglehold on some things, and I don't see that really changing anytime soon, unless a team like Florida or Tennessee figures it out in the East.
Right. And like we were saying earlier, I think the coaches that can keep the portal from destroying their core of their team are going to be the successful teams in the near future till that gets figured out.
Yeah, I think there's a reason why. I mean, if you not to bring up the NFL, but there's a reason why they have a draft and that the core of their players come from drafting and things like that. It's the same thing in college. The core of your players come from high school recruiting, and you should keep it that way. Yeah, and it shows with Georgia. Georgia doesn't take a lot of transfers. They've gotten a couple here and there. Some guys transfer out, but they've had top 1, 2, 3 recruiting classes ever since Kirby's been there. He's built the depth, and it shows.
Oh, yeah. It shows in the fourth quarter. And that's what I mentioned about Michigan in a couple of episodes here. They got stamina in the late in the third and through the fourth quarter, and that's something you were not seeing from Ohio State right now. Ohio State's defense is very suspect. I think
which is really surprising. They got a lot of talent on that team. I mean, they're the same. They recruit in that top 5 range every year, so it's kind of surprising to see them look sluggish for a 9-0 team.
Right.
Same thing could have been said about Clemson last week, and then this week they get blown out by Notre Dame, a 6-3 Notre Dame team.
Yep, did not see that coming. Losing 21 in the fourth.
Yeah,
our beloved Dogs from the Dirty South, 27-13 over Tennessee. But I think you called that one out on the defensive side of the ball.
That's weak. Georgia was able to stop them. Tennessee wasn't going to be able to do anything, because they don't have a defense. And in it, I'm really surprised that Kirby took his foot off the gas in the second half.
I did too. I was screaming at the TV. The wife, we're winning. I was like, no, this is a team that could put 21 on the board in 5 minutes. You can't give them a chance. Not trying to put at least 45 or 50 on the board was a mistake, in my opinion. Even though we got the win, I think it was wrong not to keep pushing.
Yeah, I definitely think they should have pushed harder, at least in the third quarter, because there was some life there that they got in the fourth that could have got ugly real quick if it didn't go Georgia's way. But Kirby said it in his post game: nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. That was their theme, and they showed it. I mean, they dominated on defense.
Ohio State Northwestern, and I saw a little bit of this in the first half, and Ohio State looked very, very average. And
yeah, some people were calling out the weather.
Don't blame the weather for a poor performance. If you got a team like that and you can't run the ball and get more than 21 points in 60 minutes against a 1-8, I repeat, a 1-8 team, you got problems on offense.
Yeah, they definitely weren't getting any kind of push up front.
If your whole game is a receiving core, you're not going far in the playoffs. Because when you look at their running stats, their quarterback is about 40% of it.
Yeah, you got to be able to run the ball, not just with your quarterback, but with your running backs.
Yeah, I'm predicting it right now. Michigan's going to win it. again this year against Ohio State. Mark it on your calendar.
That'd be the first time they've lost back to back to Michigan.
In a long time.
Went back to back on Ohio State because they went like 10 years without beating them at all. Anyways,
I found it. Hold on. Last back to back, most recent was 99 2000.
yeah. Yeah, I kind of figured it was around that time.
Yeah, it was in the 90s. Actually, Michigan was the more dominant team in the 90s.
Yeah. Yeah.
7-3 on the split.
Yeah. 2011 was the year that they fired Jim Tressel.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That sounds familiar.
And they fired him like in the off season because that quarterback was selling he sold his trophies or something like that. Back when they couldn't do that sort of thing. So they got caught, got in trouble, got a bowl ban.
Yeah.
Tressel got fired. So
it's about right around the same time Pete Carroll got mixed up with some stuff and he left for the NFL before the trouble showed up. Sound about right?
Yeah. Carroll left after the 2010 season.
Bush.
He knew the Reggie Bush stuff was coming down the pipe. They were going to be in scholarship hell for the next 5 years. So, yeah, he got up out of there. Because Kiffin, remember, he left in the middle of the night from Tennessee and went to USC when Carroll left.
I don't remember that.
I remember that. It was pretty wild, actually. Yeah, I agree with that statement. Michigan is on paper and on film looks a lot better than Ohio State.
What's your feeling on Notre Dame Clemson? What do you think?
I think
Clemson is going to fall into the next standing release from BCS.
8 or 9, maybe.
Think so?
Yeah, I don't think they fall out of the top 10. They might, but they got Louisville, Miami, South Carolina left on their schedule, so they're going to probably be possibly 11-2, depending on which South Carolina team shows up and who Clemson starts at quarterback.
Yeah, because they're going to end up still probably representing the ACC Atlantic. And the Tar Heels will probably still be the Coastal.
I can see the Tar Heels winning that game, though.
You think so?
FSU's win against LSU looks really good in hindsight. However, if I think they replayed that game, LSU would beat the crap out of FSU.
Right now, yes. I think the beginning of the season for LSU, they were not clicking with a new offensive scheme.
No. Yeah, they had a lot of goofy stuff going on, So.
And LSU.
The elephant in the room.
Yes, LSU in overtime, 32-31 over Alabama.
I was really surprised by this. I actually went to sleep before this game was over, and I couldn't believe they put 15 more points up after I went to sleep. It was looking like one of those just classic Alabama LSU games, going to be 9-6 or something.
It's going to be a low score. Yeah, I checked out, didn't realize it, and I woke up, checked my scores on my phone this morning, and I was like, oh, MG, let me go find the replay. And what a football game in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. I think more and more you're seeing coaches want to get the game over with and just go for the win in overtime, going for 2. I've seen it a lot more. I'm seeing it's more of a trend now and it's usually the team that gets the ball second. Well, obviously, of course, duh. But still, point stands. I've seen a lot more coaches go for it, go for that kill shot.
In the
rather
first
than trying to
OT.
Yeah, rather than try and drag overtime out.
Yeah, because it's starting on the second OT, they got to go for 2 anyway, right?
I think after that, you're just going for, you get one play from the 2-yard line or whatever. It's 2 points until somebody doesn't score.
TCU's 9-0, 6-0 in conference, obviously, and we got Texas sitting, even with the loss to Kansas State. That was Kansas State this weekend?
No, they pulled it off. They pulled it off. I couldn't believe it.
Texas is 4-2 in conference, 6-3 overall.
What a bummer of a championship game if that's what it is.
It's trending that way. I mean, Baylor's behind them. They're all tied up, so
that's gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt TCU.
In rankings, I think so.
I think if it comes down to like 11-1 Tennessee or 12-0 TCU, I think 11-1 Tennessee probably gets in.
I think 11-1 team may push them out.
Yeah. And then you got Oregon sitting over there.
8-1. I think Oregon might be that team that pushes TCU out because whatever happened with Oregon in the beginning of the year, they do not look like that team. Or
Well,
Georgia.
I think that's just the Georgia effect.
Georgia effect. Same effect you got a hold of Tennessee.
Yeah, I don't think that game would be too much different if they played again, to be honest with you. However, yeah, it might be. It might be a little bit closer. I don't think it would be quite the blowout that it was. I also think that if Tennessee and Georgia were to rematch in the playoffs, I think that game would be a little bit different too.
I think it'd be a real close game. I think it'd be a very close game.
I think Tennessee finds some adjustments in the film there.
Yep.
Josh Heupel's not a bad coach. He's been on, he coached or he quarterbacked a very good Oklahoma team, and then he coached for a very good Oklahoma team under Bob Stoops. He got California USC. Not much to see there, even though it was closer than it should have been. Not much defense being played on that field. Arizona, Utah. Utah walks away with it. Fairly decent team.
Yeah, Penn State over Indiana. That was expected.
Looking at the standings, I think it's fairly interesting. You got North Carolina and Duke right behind them. And then you got Clemson and Syracuse. Not your normal standings there.
No, not at all. The Duke Blue Devils winning football in the ACC.
Oklahoma State, Kansas. Kansas gets the rebound, gets back on the winning side of things with a big win over Oklahoma State.
That Oklahoma State offense, I guess everyone's got it figured out now because they started off strong, was putting up numbers, and then right now they're looking pretty flat.
Their starting quarterback's injured. So he hasn't been playing. So that the kid that's playing is a true freshman, I believe. He's 27 of 40, 300 yards and 2 TDs. But he can't do it all himself, especially not as a true freshman. So you got to have some help. I'm sure he had some turnovers, rookie mistakes, stuff like that. So, yeah, big win for Kansas. They get bowl eligible first time in God knows how long.
Tulane's putting up some numbers this year at 8-1.
Yeah, I think they're the best Group of 5 team, mid-major team in the country, taking that Cincinnati spot this year. Syracuse goes down to Pittsburgh. I think they're on a 3-game losing streak. Syracuse.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Syracuse. Is that the quarterback issue?
Yeah, it's same thing. Quarterback got hurt. They're playing a backup. So I guess the backups on these teams are just Carlos Del Rio is I think the Syracuse backup. He transferred from Florida. So I know he hasn't played much football on the college level, so he might as well be a true freshman.
Let's see, Schrader had 19 sacks, and Del Rio has had 9 since he's took the ball. So yeah, they're struggling.
Now Wake Forest let me down. I picked them to win this game.
I did too. I did not see NC State winning this one. I mean, you never know, but I didn't think they had enough defense to slow down Wake Forest. Thought it'd been a closer game than this. I thought it'd been like 34-30 or something like that. But
I think it says something about because North Carolina State is also starting a backup quarterback, and he's been pulling his weight the last couple weeks. NC State's hanging in there. They only lost 2 games, so they're right there, kind of in it in the standings. If some stuff happens above them. Syracuse losing, so NC State should be in second place, right behind Clemson. Clemson drops another game, you could have something going on there. NC State's got Boston College, Louisville, and they still got to play North Carolina. So,
what do you think about Week 11? We got Alabama and Ole Miss at Ole Miss.
I think this could be Nick Saban's probably worst year at Alabama, outside of the first year he was there. The way they've been looking on offense, they just don't look inspired at all.
Now, they were saying this was supposed to be the year for this team because last year was pretty much a very young team, and this is supposed to have been the year they took off clicking.
Yeah,
but it don't appear to be that way.
No, it don't seem that way. I don't know. I don't think it's the quarterback. I think Bryce Young's a really good quarterback. I'm not really sure what's going on. They just don't seem to be clicking. Defense is not what it once was, giving up a lot of points.
All right. UCF and Tulane, American Conference. 7-2 UCF, Tulane 8-1.
I'll take Tulane. It's a spread. -251.5 is the over-under. Yeah, I'll take Tulane to cover.
And we got Georgia at Mississippi. I don't think that's going to be a big debate there.
No.
Oregon at Oregon. Got 7-2 Washington coming to town. I'd like to think Oregon will cover that. Line is 11.
Good. Baylor, Kansas State. Ugh.
Yeah. They got Baylor by 3.5.
Maybe.
They're at Waco, but
and then you got your potential championship game.
TCU and Texas coming up next week. Yeah.
Well, if Texas loses this game, Baylor wins.
That's your matchup.
Yeah. Until something else changes, but yeah. California, Oregon State.
Oregon State should take care of that.
Utah, Stanford. Utah should handle business there. Then UCLA, Arizona. UCLA should handle business in that game. Should, keyword.
Good.
They're good. They got a 19-point spread. Utah's got 23. They're giving Utah 23 points. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot. They're giving Alabama 12 points right now on Ole Miss. I don't see it, man.
Yeah, I'd take the spread on that.
Yeah, I'd hammer Ole Miss on that.
I'd take a spread. That's just my 2 cents. But I've been wrong several times this year so far. So what would you call your top 4?
Right now?
Right now. If you lined them up tomorrow, what's your top 4? In no particular order.
Well, obviously, Georgia. Yeah, you got Georgia number 1. I take Michigan number 2. TCU number 3. I'd probably put Tennessee at number 4.
Okay. 1 loss Tennessee. It wouldn't be the first time. I mean, we've seen Alabama snake in, twice with a 1 loss to the playoff.
Yeah. Yep.
I'd like to see.
Ohio State just doesn't look. They don't look like a playoff team to me. I think they're going to drop a game, possibly 2.
I think they're going to lose to Michigan, and that's going to seal the deal on that.
I think right now LSU's the best 2-loss team in the country.
Yeah, I just don't see them. Even if they went out, I don't see them getting in with a 2-loss.
No. Nah.
Not this year.
I think they probably end up, depending on how the conference stuff works out, I think they probably end up in the Sugar Bowl. Should be pretty good for Brian Kelly's first year.
Yeah. That'd be a check mark.
Could see Oregon. I don't know what the playoff games are this year, but if the Rose Bowl isn't in the rotation, I could see Oregon, Ohio State.
Yeah, I just don't see with TCU's schedule this year, with some of these teams just foundering away middle of the season, that they're going to have enough schedule to boost them into the number 4 spot, even if they went out. That's not to say Texas don't show up and upset them.
Yeah. Yeah, Texas could upset them. And TCU has, even this past week, the first half they were playing from behind. It was a pretty close game for a little bit, and then they pulled away. So I think just kind of the way the setup is, if they win their conference, they're 9-0 or 12-0, 13-0, whatever it is. I think it's hard to keep them out over, I don't know, 1 loss Oregon, Pac-12 champion Oregon or something like that. I'm not sure who gets in there. They might view Ohio State as a better team on paper than TCU, even with a 1 loss to Michigan.
That's possible.
Also, they're talking about expanding the playoff, and maybe they've already come to an agreement. I don't know. And there's a 8-team model out there, and there's a 12-team model out there. Well, if you look at it right now, the whole reason they want to expand the playoff is because on multiple occasions you've had an all SEC. It's the same thing. It's the same reason they originally went to a playoff. It's because you had the LSU Alabama national championship game in the BCS. Well, they've had 2 instances of all SEC national championships. But if you look at it right now, let's just say they went to a 12-team playoff, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 SEC teams in a 12-team playoff.
It's the same thing.
you might end up with semifinals that's all SEC, depending on how it shakes out.
True. I don't know. I don't think anyone will ever be happy with it. Hey, and this goes back to the years where all you heard was USC or Oklahoma or Ohio State is all they ever talked about in the media. Then they get to the big game and get their ass handed to them.
Right.
And every now and then they'd win one, but that's all you'd hear about. It's like everyone that was an announcer either graduated from A, B, or C, and that's the only team that came out their mouth for about 15 years. And you still hear it.
I'm looking at the FCS playoff bracket from last year.
Well, what you got?
They do 1, 2. So they have a 2014 playoff
For football?
For football. No, I think they play 10 games. So they play 10-game schedule and possibly, if you win it, 16, 15, or 16. So I could see them eventually expanding to that point.
Yeah, and then now we're back to the semi-pro football.
Right. That's all I have to say about that. I don't think at this point from where college football is, if you expand it to 8 or 12, I think you're going to end up with similar results, and it's not really going to matter much. You just put more wear and tear on the kids.
That's the problem I have with it. If you got guys that are really looking forward to the next level, they're going to not play late season, risking injury, and then it's going to put the team at risk of not performing.
But I think if you want to expand the playoff, fine, but you need to dial back the schedules. Season. Yeah, go to a 10-game schedule, 9 conference game. You get one warm up, and make it highly competitive.
That makes more sense than anything I've heard in a while.
Yeah.
What's logic got to do with it?
I don't know. They just keep expanding the NFL too.
Yeah.
Playing 18 games now, 17 games.
Are they?
And then you got the playoffs. You could end up playing 22 games. A lot of football, a lot of hits. So Alabama has the number 1 class right now, and there is no signing class cap. But usually there's a 25 signing limit that they put in place several years ago. Well, that went out the window this year. They said you can sign as many as you want. I see Alabama signing a lot of players. And then I think Nick Saban knows he's got a really young team. I think that's part of his problem. They had a historic recruiting class in 2021. And then this year they're on track to have an even better recruiting class than that class. So it's not like the talent's not there. I think he's just got a really young team. And he did take in some transfers this past year. He took in Burton from Georgia. He took in Ricks from LSU. But sometimes it just doesn't work. You know, guys don't pan out or they don't fit your system the way you thought they would, whatever. Yeah. Don't be surprised if you see Hugh Freeze back in the SEC next year at Auburn.
Who?
Hugh Freeze. You remember he's the one who got fired from Ole Miss for cheating back in like 2016. There's a big deal came out with a bunch of recruits getting paid. You have to look that up.
We'll Google it then. All right. We'll come back around to that.
Yeah. So he took a year or two off, and then he landed a job at Liberty, and he's been doing good ever since. Just wait. You know, he's got to rebuild his reputation and all that, and just wait on his next gig.
I think I remember some of the shit on ESPN. He was they had some video footage of him in a bar somewhere. That guy.
No, that was Urban Meyer.
It was not that recent, but okay, yeah.
Oh, okay. Urban Meyer was getting a lap dance from some chick in a bar.
Moving on. I was looking at the offensive leaders this year. You know who's number 1 for passing?
That's a bit it.
Nope.
Who?
Michael Penix Jr. from Washington, 3,232 yards.
Nice.
Chase Brown from Illinois with 1,344 yards.
Really?
I can't make it up.
No, you're right. Will Rogers broke Dak Prescott's passing records at Mississippi State past weekend. What were you going to say?
Receiving yards, Rashee Rice from SMU was 1,068. Is no one double teaming this kid?
Oh, did you? Oh, let's talk about that. I didn't even think about that. That didn't even cross my mind. Let's talk about SMU. Hold on.
SMU.
Let me pull it up. Most points scored in a college game between two teams, I think, ever.
Do what? What did I miss?
Yeah. Wait till I tell you the score.
SMU in Houston?
Yeah.
77 to 63. Holy smokes.
140 points scored in a college game. That's wild. It was 49 to like 35 at half or whatever. 49-35 at half. That's crazy.
That's more like a scrimmage game with no defense.
I think they were playing 7-on-7.
Sounds like it.
Nobody showed up for that game.
Please, if anybody has any questions or comments, hit us up at primecohesion@gmail.com or head to our Facebook page at Prime Cohesion on Facebook and leave some comments. We'd appreciate it.